So you guys are okay with me recording your testimonial and using your testimonial? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you develop this product?
I did.
Have you seen Grace and Frankie?
I have seen the episode of Grace and Frankie where they were talking about some vaginal, that is hysterical. That was,
I know.
I'm like, man, I got to figure out a way to send them Jolva for real, you know?
Yeah, you got to find out, really to market this product, it's really a great product.
Thank you. I'd love for you to share your story, like from what Nancy wrote was just perfect, but from dealing with the side effects of breast cancer and breast cancer therapy, because this is there's such a fear among those of us who have, those who have suffered with breast cancer or any type of cancer, right? When's the next shoe gonna drop? And I'd love for you to talk about that too, like how you're taking, you're like, well, I'm moving on to the next thing. I want to make sure that I'm as healthy now as I can be and continue to get healthier. And that's not a survivor attitude. That's someone who's thriving, right? That's like you're reviving. And I keep wanting to differentiate survivor from, thriving in life, versus there, I guess there's the combination. For me, it was just semantics, but I love to see, like, for me, my initial impression reading that is like, yeah, man, there's, that's behind you. You're moving forward and, door closed, moving forward. And I would love for you to share that part, because that's a testimony to other people who are struggling with whatever diagnoses they're struggling with.
Yes. Well, have you had breast cancer? You have not, have you?
No, just family, friends.
Well, the one they don't tell you a lot of the post-treatment real side effects of breast cancer. I was not, the treatments alone were not that difficult. I mean, it was difficult. I lost a lot of weight. I was very tired. I was never very actively ill. It was more of an ordeal than anything else. It was just a big major ordeal. I never felt that I was not going to survive, although I had a couple of reactions to chemotherapy that landed me in the emergency room. But I'm a golfer, and I've always been an athlete. And so my big fear was the loss of that ability to participate in those kinds of things. I've been playing golf. I played golf with the Carolina Tar Heels in the 70s. And so that was my biggest fear. And the doctors assured me that I would play golf again, but I lost 35, 40 pounds down to under 100 pounds. So it was a kind of tough time. But what they don't tell you is the other things. You have to take a post-cancer pill for 5 years. They recommended for me 7, which I took. Was it 7 years I took it? Mm-hmm. And essentially, my breast cancer was estrogen positive. So this type of cancer strips all the moisture from your system. I mean, your hands get dry, everything dries up. And I went to my primary care physician, and she said, "Oh, Nancy, you have vaginal atrophy." And I said, "Oh, wonderful. I'm 100 years old now." I felt like, this is just horrible. And she said, "Well, there's nothing I can do for you." She said, "Bless your heart, I love you to death, but you need estrogen treatment. And I can't give you estrogen treatment because of your history of positive estrogen breast cancer." So I tried things like coconut oil, Vagisil, and I kept getting recurring yeast infections because as a golfer, I'm out in the heat. And so I would play a round of golf, and then I'd play another round of golf, and by the next day, I'd be noticing these symptoms. And so I would have to fight these symptoms on and on. And that's just been sort of an ongoing, recurring kind of thing. I tried literally, and this is embarrassing. I don't want you to put this out there, but I I would stop at a halfway house on the golf course and change my underwear, thinking that if I had dry, fresh underwear, then the chances of that happening would be less.
The infection, yeah.
The infection would be less, but I would still have these recurring things. And now I have medication I can take. It's the 1-day pill for yeast infection, but they're kind of chronic. And they just told me, tough luck, you know. They also don't tell you about loss of libido. You know, I was not, you know, loss of my breast tissue was not that big of a deal, but there's a lot of loss of sensation and a loss of sexuality that they don't, you know, they're not going to tell you, oh, by the way, you know, you're going to lose a lot of this.
Because their goal is to save your life,
right?
Not,
and I mean,
you know,
and it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, you know, but your product, the first time, you know, Sandy saw it, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, you know. And all I can tell you is that I've not used it enough now to know for sure, because I've only had it, what, a week or 10 days, maybe?
You've had it maybe around 2 weeks.
But I use it twice a day and would use it more, but it's so expensive. It's expensive. So, and it's not greasy. It's not oily. It's not uncomfortable. It does not stain. You know, and so there's a lot of these things that, you know, it's just made my life that little bit nicer, you know. And so I'm a real fan. And, you know, it has helped. You know, golf season's starting up, and it was going to be next week, but it's supposed to snow. So I have something of the nature of 30 plus senior golf events coming up, and my goal is to win the North Carolina Super Senior Amateur Championship for North and South Carolina, because I turn 65 next month, and so I qualify as a super senior, and I play well enough to do that. But this will help, and it just makes you feel more normal, I guess, is kind of what I would say.
How old were you when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
It was in 2009.
It was November. Well, it was September 2009, and so she took her first chemotherapy treatment at the end of November of 2009, and so through August of 2010, she was going through the chemo and the surgery and the radiation.
So I was 54. 54 through 55, 6. It was about, how many treatments did I have? 17?
I had 16 chemo
I had 16 chemo treatments and 6 weeks of radiation every day.
What stage cancer was it?
It's 2B. The tumor was, it was rather large and came up out, like overnight. I mean, I was like, it was like, and I have no history in my family. No, I mean, it was out of the blue. And the treatment I got from the surgeon was the first diagnosis. I left this town and went to UNC Chapel Hill Cancer Center, which was a good thing. And because they, you know, they broke the news to us as if, oh, well, you got the measles, you know, or, you know, you got the flu. Next step, you know, I'm like, Sandy and I were like with our jaws dropping, you know. So, but I mean, we handled it great. Sandy took off her company. She works for Laboratory Corporation of America. They allowed her to work 4-day weeks when I had a treatment. So she went over with me every time, you know, and when I had a reaction, she could spend the night. And I mean, we had great treatment. It's just.
Yeah, but the symptom, you know, was that the tissue was dry and it was uncomfortable. It was and it was constant. It was, you know, nothing overpowering, but it was something she had to put up with 24/7.
Right.
And she didn't complain that much. But let me tell you, the reason I sent the email
I'm learning
to
something
you,
here.
the reason I sent the email to you, I get your emails, you know, that come out. Because when she started, I think she'd used it 2 days, and she started raving about it. she's like, this makes such a difference.
Right.
It's like that underlying constant
Right.
irritation, uncomfortableness was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's just hopeful that it will help maybe decrease the chance of those yeast infections being so common.
And again, they don't tell you. They really don't, you know, and they don't give you any hope. It's like,
we can't do anything.
There's nothing we can do about it, you know. So it's just, you know, just a side effect. So I'm really glad this has been developed. Like I say, I've only been using it for a couple of weeks. I don't know, you know, maybe part of this is in my head, but you know, I've never. It's just, you know. You can certainly use me as a testimony that it has certainly helped a 64 to be 65 female who went through horrendous ordeal.
You know, it's so, because, you know, I've been a gynecologist for now almost going on 1991, over 25 years, right? So I've been, you know, in medicine for over 30 years of my life. And so, in seeing and working with clients with vaginal atrophy, you know, women as we're aging, you know, and then dealing with it myself. I had premature menopause at 39 and post-traumatic premature menopause at 39. I always joke, I'm a menopause expert because I've been through it 3 times, you know, keep reviving my system and then I'm back in it again, you know, life hits, right? And so, but dealing, I mean, I remember, you know, number one, yeast infections, that used to plague my life before then, right? And that is the worst thing. I mean, oh my gosh, right? I get that. It's not just, oh, well, it's so common. And that's sometimes it's so common, take a pill or use Monistat. I mean, definitely we want to get rid of it for good. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about that too. And then just the atrophy dealing, I used to horseback ride and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really chafing with horseback riding, right? And forget messy vaginal gels and suppositories. And you're in the South too. Heck, they melt in your car going from the compounding pharmacy to home.
Well, and they melt in your underwear too, darling.
They do. And so I had created little tablets that were vaginal that I thought I could get to my patients over the counter because DHEA was over the counter. The research was good, but anything you put in your vagina, that is a prescription. And so, or has OTC drug approval like Monistat, Vagisil, things like that. And so I'm like, oh, well, I don't have a couple $300,000 to do that process. But I knew that I already made a line of cosmetic creams. I'm like, okay, well, let me make a cosmetic cream that you can use for, you know, our vulva. And plus I hated the discharge. I hated, you know, dealing with those things. So I wanted something that was just perfect, absorbed really well, was anti-aging to this area. And, you know, for 3 years, I tested different products and ways in between raising children and running a business and all that stuff. And so putting these ingredients together, the alpine, you know, the plant stem cells from the alpine rose, which in and of itself is awesome, adding the DHEA, the emu oil, because that conditioning and also to get the absorption that I want of the product. So it's not laying on the skin, it's going in. And so anyway, so that was the fun part of doing this and then having a solution for my breast cancer patients, because again, get them healthy and get their libido back. And then they have pain and discomfort, you know, during sex. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not good. And because you know, little backstory on me, I retired my medical practice to take care of raise my kids as a single mom. Right. And so
wow.
that, like, my patients were like, help me, you know, so that's why I wanted to create something that was accessible to women that I couldn't write a prescription for. And so there were several reasons there, and personally too, you know, I was like, I put a little bit of it here, once in a while, you know, it's like my anti-aging formula, not just for the vulva, but it does that, you know, it does make a difference. And so the other aspect of that was initially when we go from the Sahara, what it feels like, right? Dry, cracked skin, that is painful. I mean, again, I've done speculum exams on 10,000 women, right, by now in my career. And so you don't want to ever do that, right? And so you don't ever want to get to that level. And I know how painful that is, personally and professionally. And so I wanted to, when you go from the Sahara to the Amazon, essentially, now you've got moisture, you've got your body's natural lubrication, the cells are healthier. You can get a yeast infection. So what I want to tell you is that that's going to initially, if you start to notice some itching or yeast type symptoms, you've got to use a topical antifungal like Monistat or terraconazole, and even intravaginally just for 7 to 10 days in a row, because that will knock it out for good. Any woman who's had a yeast infection with this initiation of, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, 1% of people, but have a yeast infection, because yeast stays dormant in there, as you know, because it keeps coming back, right? You want to kick it out. And now that the cells are healthier, you got that good barrier, I would just take a regular probiotic daily and you won't get another one. So hopefully, yeah. And so, but just know that while you're using Julva, I would just go ahead and use terraconazole, Monistat, but also know that diflucan's great and you can take it several days in a row if you need to, without any risk. But, boric acid vaginal suppository is another way to go, because many yeast have become resistant to fluconazole. And so that's why it can subside it, but not completely get rid of it, right? That's why you're struggling.
I have pills of fluconazole.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good supply. And they sent 30.
Good.
So I have plenty over the day.
Yeah. And when you do, take it regularly instead of just one time, take it regularly in a row, because you really want to get rid of that yeast.
Okay.
So it takes 7 days.
Well, I recommend this Julva that you produced for any woman that's, I would say, I mean, I've told Sandy you should use it. She says, I don't need it. I'm like, you don't know you don't need it.
Try
You don't know.
Right.
You need it. Yeah.
You don't know that you need it. I mean, it's really, and until you actually try it, you don't really know the way that it makes you feel a lot better. But it certainly helped me as a breast cancer survivor. I was really at the end of my rope about it, and Sandy tried to come up with everything. So she's the one that found you and said, we should try this. And I'm like, how much is this? And she said, trust me. So it's worth it. It really is.
It is. And the more you get to use it, because remember, one tube is a 60-day supply, or you're using it twice a day right now, so that'll last you 30 days. But once you get the healthy recondition, honestly, like 2 to 3 times a week, I use it. That's it. So maintenance will be so much better. Now, I shouldn't be saying this. I probably won't put this in the testimonial because I want people to use it every day and keep being a good consumer. But it was designed, number one, is I hate to go get anything, every month, like prescriptions or whatever, every month. So I wanted a 60-day supply that makes sense, but also a product that works so that, we have people on autoscript once every 3 months. They'll use the Julva. They'll get a new Julva. And so you'll see as you condition your body, you're doing your pelvic floor exercises, you're getting better blood supply there, you're feeling better. You need maintenance sometimes anywhere. I have some clients 1 to 5 days a week maintenance.
How do you market this product? Other than
online. Just on the internet. Yeah, cost effective. Yeah. We're trying to get it into doctors' offices. So if you have any of your doctors that would like to carry some samples in their office and brochures, we do that for free, because I'm trying to get my colleagues over the obstacle of there's no help for women with vaginal dryness beyond estrogen.
Well, that's exactly what the doctor told me.
I know.
I'm one of them. For 20 years. And I was just shocked at the initial diagnosis of vaginal atrophy. I said, atrophy? You've got to be kidding me. And she said, no. So, but I imagine that's true of all women that get to be over a certain age, So,
yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't, like that thing, it doesn't have to be that way. If we're using anti-aging cream for our eyes, it's as important as sunscreen is for prevention. Julva is important for prevention too.
Yeah, well, I highly recommend it, and I'll certainly tell all the people that I know that are breast cancer survivors that went through it with me about the product.
Thank you.
And anything we can do to help you, because it's, I'll keep it forever as long as it's available.
I know. Thank you, God. Let's. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, I am so honored, really.
For finding such a thing and taking care of your patients this way, because these side effects really are enduring, whereas the breast cancer itself is behind me. I don't even think about it. I don't think about recurrence, but these other lingering issues, they're just a pain in the neck, so it's great to have something to help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's too, because the, oncologists, they're like, okay, well, we're saving your life, right? The side effects are, and even when it comes to, especially I think the vaginal side effects are minimized. Erectile dysfunction side effects are not minimized. Okay. Just saying. There's definitely a difference in our medical community and our approach. So, other than, Viagra and that whole line of drugs that are now available for men, I mean, they're offered it all the time, right? But women aren't offered any solution. Sorry.
And I think women tend to be stoic about it and just say, well, this is all normal, not good, but normal, not good. And, we are alive and we are still functioning, and so
we tolerate it.
We should tolerate it, and and they said there's nothing they can do. So that's the way women are anyway in general. I think is they just kind of more accepting of this, and it's embarrassing to tell people about it, or to even talk to your doctor about it. And I kept having these recurring things, and I'd go back, and Dr. Maloney just scratched her head and said, well, here's what you got. Tough luck. I mean, she didn't say it in that way, but I mean, she just said, if you hadn't had breast cancer, I would prescribe you this. She said, unfortunately, everything I have in my arsenal to fight this, I cannot give you. And so what do? You just go, okay, well, I'll do the best I can and keep on trucking. Mm-hmm. But when it's hot and sweaty and you're outside for 8 hours or so in a heated match and all that, and then you come home and it's the next day, and then all of a sudden this starts rearing its head, and then it's distracting and it's uncomfortable and it's
yeah. So and you've done what so many do, just power through it, right? I mean, that's what I hear women say, we have to power through it. And that quality of life does matter. And so, creating solutions, and we fight, like I know I'm up against big pharma. I know I'm up against the grain right now, but you today have inspired me to continue the good fight.
Well, I hope you do.
Absolutely.
In fact, I was wondering why you haven't sold out to big pharma so far and given them this formula, and then, they'll change it, screw it up, and then market it, as a miracle, whatever. But it, that's why the marketing of this is going to be very significant on how you get this out and this word out to everyone, and that it is worth the internet price or whatever the price is to have this in your arsenal of things, because breast cancer is traumatic enough without having to deal with the long-term side effects, and it affects your partner. It affects everything in your life that they don't tell you about. And so I'm just delighted to have it, is all I can tell you, and that she found it for me, which doesn't surprise me.
You seem like a very good team.
Yes, we are. We've been together for 25 years.
Wow.
25 years. Yes.
It's
through a lot.
It's a pleasure to meet you both, and God bless you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Good luck with the marketing of this product. If we can help you in any way, let us know. I'll be happy to talk to anyone you want me to talk to about this, any groups you want me to talk to about this,
You're amazing. Well, I'm going to send you some samples.
I'm a firm believer.
I love it. I'm going to send you some samples to give out to your friends. And also I'm going to get you a canister of my Mighty Maca too, because that's detoxing all those pesticides from that golf course. So we got to get you on that. So I'm going to send you some of that too. Yeah.
I lick my golf balls all the time, and people say, stop doing that. There's fertilizer on this.
Oh my God.
I lick the golf ball.
She doesn't do it that much.
I don't do it that much. Just
oh my God. Hopefully you're doing a lot of greens and antioxidants to counteract that. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Sandy, you got to get on her about that.
Well, I can only do so much about that. Let me tell you.
Very nice.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. I look forward to. I'll send you. What was that?
Stay warm and dry in Georgia.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a perfect day today. I wish I wish we could have a lot of days like this. Perfect day. Well, take care, y'all. Thank you again so much.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you.